Hello, yes, it's me. I'm not dead. Around September, I started my KIIP Level 4 class, and as of the end of January, I passed the Level 4 test, and I have started KIIP Level 5. I was taking the Level 4 class 5 hours on Saturday mornings and 5 hours on Sunday morning. That was intense, because you wake up and you can't relax on the weekends, because you gotta turn on your computer and sit in front of the camera like this. Anyway, I wanted to give some overview about what it was like and how I passed it. So I took the class remotely, sitting in front of a camera, instead of going to a classroom. And I think it's much easier because you save time on commuting and you can space out for a little bit. It's not that I couldn't understand the teacher. I could, but the teacher was kind of, I don't want to say she was intense. Listening to her took a lot of focus and effort, and after 1 or 2 hours, I already felt burnt out. So it was really an endurance test to just sit through each class. So I did not actually learn much during the classes themselves. The classes go by the textbook and they just go through the lessons one by one. It is a very good idea to review the lessons that are going to be covered on a particular day before it's covered. That way the class itself is more like review. In general, I'm good at grammar, English grammar, Korean grammar. I pick up grammar easily. So that was not any issue. And also the grammar was weirdly easier than I expected. Some of it I had learned before, over 10 years ago. Instead, they upped the amount of vocabulary and the amount of difficult vocabulary. The course is 100 hours and you have to complete 80 hours. So I attended every single class for the first 8 weekends, and I attended 2 hours of the first class on the 9th weekend, and I stopped, and that was enough. I was qualified to take the test. I felt like I needed to do more review on my own, and there's a month between when a class ends and when the first test after the class is given. So I figured I would review to prepare for the test, and during that month I went to visit my family in New York, and I did not really review very much. There is one thing I did fully prepare for the test, which is a very good idea. So during the class, whenever the teacher would ask me to describe something something about your home country with relation to what is being taught in the class. So it could be about the education in your home country, or the voting process in your home country, I would stop and think about the real answer, the truth, my own personal truth, history, experiences. That is a bad idea for taking a test because they don't care about whether you're being honest or not. They care about whether you can provide a comprehensive answer that fully addresses what they want you to cover. And whenever I would think about my own personal experiences, I would run up against all these concepts and words that I didn't know how to translate into Korean. Thinking about the truth would stop me from really providing a good answer. So one thing I did prepare for the test, for speaking but also for the writing, is to plan out the general topics that I could possibly answer for each lesson. So as long as I memorized generally the topics I would talk about and the relevant vocabulary, I was pretty well prepared, and I felt for those particular questions, I did pretty good. But I didn't really prepare enough. During the test, I felt I saw so many questions that I just didn't recognize the subject matter they were asking. And I just felt hopeless during the test. I'm okay, I definitely failed this. So by the time I got to the speaking part comes after the multiple choice part. I was well, there's no point. So no point in feeling nervous either. Let's just go into it and see what happens. And as a result, I opted not to answer 2 questions. I understood the questions, I just had no answer for them prepared, and I didn't try. I ended up scoring a 54 and I needed 60 points. So I was actually close, and if I had tried to answer the speaking questions, probably wouldn't have passed. One of the major problems, and actually what kind of justified my not preparing and studying enough for it, is because a lot of questions were asked about material covered in the levels 2 and 3, in fact. I knew that material from levels 2 and 3 might be included on the level 4 test, but I assumed that would mean grammar and some vocabulary, because grammar all builds on itself, and the same is true with vocabulary. But what I wasn't prepared for is actual questions sounds about like cultural topics, but there were those questions. So the next semester, when I wanted to start level 5, was going to start in February. Registration was in the middle of January, but there was another level 4 test at the end of January. So I thought, okay, register for the test, to retake the test, register for the level 4 class, assuming that I might have to retake it if I fail this second test, and then if I pass it, cancel the registration for level 4 class and register for level 5 class. Okay. And I studied, relatively a lot. I studied like maybe 1 to 2 hours a day, which isn't that much. I don't know if I've really ever studied for things before in my life. In high school and university, if something came easy to me, I didn't have to study for it and I did well in it. If something didn't come easy to me, I still didn't study for it and therefore I didn't do well in it. So this time I studied, but like not too much because I needed stuff to sink in. So like if I was studying for 1 or 2 hours and I managed to absorb like 2 or 3 new words, that was an accomplishment. By the time the second test came, I knew all of the content. I didn't have all the vocabulary memorized, but I feel like I had enough so that if there were 4 answer choices and I recognized 3 of the words, I could easily figure out one of them, obviously the answer, and if not, then it's the last one. More importantly, when I approach the speaking section, you need to speak no matter what. Let's say they ask you the question. It's very important that you understand the questions they're actually asking. And you can ask them to repeat themselves. I asked them once to repeat the question, and I understood all the questions. You just have to make yourself speak. Even if you haven't really prepared what you're gonna say, figure out how to start piecing together word after word after word, even if you're really struggling. Like they are patient enough, like if they recognize that you're trying to answer, they'll wait for you to answer. So I passed the test with a score of 70 when I needed a score of 60, which really isn't as good as I was hoping for, but a pass is a pass. Immediately, I dropped my registration for retaking level 4. As soon as you pass the test, you get to see the course list for the next level, assuming that the registration for the next level is open. And there was literally only 1 class available, and it was a in-person class. Thankfully, it was only like a 10-minute walk away. So I registered, and the next morning, someone dropped out of an online class, so I like switched that and I registered for the online class, and now I'm taking the online class. I guess I'll make a video about level 5 later on, but so what I'm doing, this class is 70 hours. I'm doing this, there are 2 level 5 things. There's the 70-hour course, which everyone in level 5 has to complete. And then if you want to become a naturalized citizen, you take an additional 30-hour course. I'm not going for citizenship, so I'm not going to take that. So I'm doing the 70-hour course only. That includes 60 hours of like classroom or online classroom stuff. Again, you only have to complete 80% of those, so 48 hours out of the 60. But then there are 10 extra hours for social education. What this involves varies based on your teacher. So I've heard some people can do volunteer activities. Some people can go to a museum and take a photo of the ticket and write a report afterwards. For my class, the teacher says we can only attend these lecture courses, which is like 2 hours across 5 different weekend days. The level 5 textbook, I'm not ready to call it insane. It's all content. There's no grammar lessons. There's vocabulary, but it doesn't give you like these huge vocabulary lists. On each page, it singles out like 5 vocabulary words, and it actually provides the definitions on the page themselves, but it's all content. I would say the content is engaging, and it is stuff that you would really expect to learn if you wanted to learn about Creole. So not bad, it's just a lot to learn. The level 5 test is given more often than the level 4 test. For the rest of this year, there are 6 more tests given. I would like to try to complete it on the first try, but the test is notoriously hard. I'm fantasizing about what I'm going to be doing after I finish the KIIP course. I hear there's a new Soul Subway jingle, which somebody needs to write a song about. We'll see what happens.